This is chapter 5, which is the longest and most analytical section of the novel. Examines the influences of family, country, and religion which have shaped Stephen's life this far. It shows Stephen stripping himself layer by layer of each of the confining shackles which restricts his maturing artistic soul. Unlike previous sections of the novel, this chapter is written in a lyrical and fragmented style. It reveals Stephen's development into an artist as he rambles from subject to subject in an attempt to resolve his conflict, and it summarizes Stephen's experiences to this point. Finally, we see Stevens putting them into perspectives before he liberates himself in order to pursue his future as an artist living abroad, free from family, country, and religion. هذه النقطة المهمة جدا اللي من بداية الرواية كنا نركز عليها، اللي هي تأثير العائلة والبلد والدين على حياة وأفكار ستيفن وتطور شخصيته من اهتمام بكل جانب من هذه الجوانب إلى أن يحقق في النهاية الحرية الفكرية لنفسه ليكون فنانا ويخلق هوية فنية لنفسه. When this chapter begins, we see a parallel between the pile of pound tickets and Stephen's pounding his integrity for a blind, unexamined loyalty to family, country, and religion. Stephen feels that his life has a profound purpose. Ironic, really. لأن الباوند تيكتس اللي هي السندات القروض والمشاكل المالية اللي شكلت عبء عليه، فما ممكن هي تكون في نفس الوقت شيء يعزز الثقة في نفس ستيفن. In view of the pile of pound tickets before him and his seemingly hopeless, humble beginnings, as he leaves for the university, his soul is tortured by the sound of, and I quote, his father's whistle, his mother's mutterings, and the screech of an unseen maniac, end quote. A nun crying, Jesus, oh Jesus, Jesus. In this brief scene, Joyce gives life to the three forces which Stephen wants to free himself from: his family, his country, and his religion. We see Stephen's father ever demanding agathism, which is a symbol of family. We feel the oppression of Stephen's mother's continuous submissive martyrdom, a symbol of country. And finally, we hear the irrational lost call of a nun, a symbol of religion. Desperate to escape these three restraints which chain his restless soul to a subservient, doomed future, Stephen commits himself in an unreversed way to freedom, vowing to escape beyond the echoes of the voices which threaten to humble the pride of his youth. The chapter shows two views, one of patriotism and the other represents the world peace. We have McCain, who urged Stephen to sign a petition for universal peace, واللي هي ممكن تذوب ما يسمى بالقومية الإيرلندية في إطار السلام العالمي. While we have Devon, who is a remnant of Ireland's provincial past. In both his speech and his actions, Devon represents the native Irish populace who worship. Stephen tries to take his own line of thinking and not to be driven by any of them. لأن راد يخلق خط خاص به لا يذهب مع الذين يدعون القومية ومواجهة ومقاتلة الغير، ولا مع الذين يريدون أن يذوبوا القضية الإيرلندية مع محيطها العالمي بحجة السلام. During his conversation with the Dean of Studies, Stephen reveals the marked difference between the practical arts, which the Dean represents, and the liberal arts, which Stephen admires. Here, Joyce uses a light metaphor. The lamp symbolizes enlightenment. We see that Stephen's figurative approach to aesthetic is superior to the Dean's limited literal views on the subject. It is comic that Stephen's continued attempt to clarify his views further confuse the Dean. Nonetheless, Stephen has an opportunity here to differentiate between his own aesthetic use of language as opposed to the language that is used in the literary tradition of marketplace. That is, which is taught by the Dean. Stephen perceives the Dean's scholastic limitation and he pities him for his uninspired but faithful service to his order. In order to further examine Stephen's ideas about art and the nature of the artist, Joyce creates a scene between Stephen and Lynch, using Lynch as a sounding board against which Stephen can show his philosophy of aesthetic. طريقة مهمة جدا وهي خلق شخصية مضادة لأفكارك لكي تستطيع التعبير عن كل الذي يجول في خاطرك وتناقشه من وجهتي النظر المؤيدة والمخالفة في نفس الوقت. لذلك لينش كان الشخصية المخالفة تماما لأفكار ستيفن. حتى معنى اسم لينش اللي هي الإعدام بدون محاكمة، طبعا هذا اسم، ولكن لابد أن تكون هناك إشارة معينة لمعنى هذا الاسم وأهميته في الرواية وفي إعطاء الأحكام ضد أفكار ستيفن من قبل هذه الشخصية. The device is wooden and Stephen's focus sometimes seems so much dense. But clearly Stephen is as insistent about these aesthetic concepts as Father Arnell was about his concept of sin and hell. The two scenes create a powerful counterpoint within the last half of the novel. One of the chains which threatens Stephen's artistic freedom is his complex perception of women. The reappearance of Emma Clary, the project of Stephen's first verse, written more than 10 years ago, inspires him to write a villanelle which incorporates all of his conflicting emotions concerning women, his worship of them, his discretion of them, and his need to feel fulfilled by them, by recreating his feelings about Emma and women in general. Using the artistic form of the villanelle, Stephen frees himself from a sexual compulsion for women and is rewarded for his efforts by a vision of birds soaring freely through the sky. Perhaps the most important relationship which Stephen feels forced to stop if he is ever to leave family, faith and country is his deep-rooted friendship with Cranley. Cranley is a character based on Joyce's real-life friend, John Byron. Cranley is the priest-like companion with womanish eyes who has proven himself a faithful and sincere friend of Stephen's during their years at the university. Stephen searches for reasons to dissolve their friendship because, and I quote, if friendship exists, it impugns the quality of exile and of lonely heroism. Elman. The first reason that Stephen creates for ending his friendship with Cranley echoes when Emma clearly makes a bow across Stephen in reply to Cranley's greeting. يعني بس انحنت له كرد للتحية اللي حياهم بها. To Stephen, the bow is metaphorical. Has Cranley been dating Emma behind Stephen's back? Is this the explanation for Cranley's recent aggressive behavior towards Stephen? Seeing Cranley's behavior as part of a pattern of betrayal, Stephen convinces himself that he has been betrayed by Cranley. Until now, Cranley has been Stephen's priest-like confidant, but now, just before leaving Ireland, Stephen can, if he chooses, use his moment to justify breaking off his friendship with Cranley. يعني بين قوسين كان يبحث عن عذر لينهي علاقته مع كرانلي حتى لما يسافر ما تكون أحد المعوقات اللي تخليه يشتاق ويحن للماضي مالته. يريد ينهي أي شيء له علاقة بالماضي. كرانلي كان يمثل الجذور اللي تربط ستيفن with his home. The final conversation between Stephen and Cranley is referred to in Stephen's diary, and it reflects similar entries in Joyce's own notebooks. In ungrammatical and fragmentary language, Stephen records his thoughts about Cranley and about Cranley's elderly parents. Stephen labels Cranley as a child of exhausted lions. The subsequent entries in Stephen's diary similarly reveals his efforts to break his bonds with the past. The entry in paragraph 15 is pertinent because we see Stephen contemplating Dante's chaste admiration of Beatrice. Again, Stephen thinks about his last conversation with Emma clearly, however. This time he goes so with new insight. He says, "Yes, I like her today. It seems a new feeling to me. Oh, give it up, old chap, sleep it off." On the day before Stephen's departure, his mother expresses her hope that his emotional development will eventually parallel his artistic idealism. She hopes that Stephen learns about matters of the heart, in particular, that human affection eventually becomes as important to Stephen as his ability to appreciate art. At the end, Stephen acknowledges her wish as well as the possibilities that life has in store for him as he invokes his great patron's spirit to assist him on his way. This is the end of chapter 5 and the end of the first novel. However, I have a few questions which I wish that you can use to brainstorm the ideas about the novel and this chapter in specific. First question says, what is the symbolism of the departure of Stephen to university and the farewell of his parents and the nun? Discuss the representation of Cranley for Stephen and what does he represent? Question number 3, what is the justification of mentioning the word Tandish that the dean did not know its meaning? What is the author intention behind it? Trying to find the answer for these questions, and if you have any question, please raise them on our group and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Until then, have a lovely time and I wish you and your family happy Ramadan.